It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a careless mistake. In the middle of a dazzling charity gala filled with millionaires, celebrities, and powerful executives, a black single father stood frozen as expensive wine soaked through his suit. Hundreds of eyes turned toward him, but not one hand reached out to help. Instead, whispers spread through the ballroom like wildfire. Some smiled. Others laughed. Security quietly moved closer, assuming he didn't belong there. None of them knew that before the sun set that very day, the future of their biggest business empire would rest entirely in his hands. Before we begin this unforgettable story, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who believes in kindness and second chances, and subscribe to Heartline Stories for more emotional stories that remind us that character is worth far more than appearance. The morning had begun with hope. Golden sunlight poured through the windows of a modest apartment where 38-year-old Kieran Holt carefully buttoned the only tailored suit he owned. Across the room, his 7-year-old daughter, Amara, smiled proudly as she adjusted his tie with tiny hands. Since losing her mother to cancer 4 years earlier, Kieran had become both father and mother, balancing school lunches, bedtime stories, homework, doctor appointments, and the impossible demands of building a technology company from a tiny rented office into one of the fastest-growing artificial intelligence firms in the country. Every success had come with sleepless nights, missed meals, and sacrifices no one outside his small circle had ever witnessed. That afternoon's gala wasn't just another glamorous event. It was where the executives of one of the world's largest investment corporations would officially choose the company that would receive $1 billion strategic partnership. Months of research, negotiations, and evaluations had quietly placed Kieran's company at the very top of the list. Only a handful of board members knew the final decision had already been made. The public announcement would happen before dinner, transforming his company overnight. Kieran arrived carrying quiet confidence rather than flashy wealth. His car wasn't exotic. His watch wasn't covered in diamonds. His greatest source of pride was the folded drawing inside his jacket pocket, where Amara had sketched the two of them holding hands beneath a bright blue sky with the words, "My daddy always wins." Whenever doubt crept into his heart, he looked at that picture instead of the numbers in his bank account. The ballroom shimmered beneath crystal chandeliers as sunlight streamed through towering glass windows overlooking the city skyline. Waiters floated gracefully between elegantly dressed guests while photographers captured smiles that looked perfect but often hid judgment. Kieran greeted the reception staff warmly and quietly walked toward the networking area, unaware that several influential guests had already begun making assumptions about him. His calm demeanor and simple appearance didn't match the image they expected from a billionaire founder. One wealthy socialite glanced at him with visible annoyance, believing he must have wandered into the wrong event. Moments later, while carrying a glass of deep red wine, she deliberately brushed past him. The liquid cascaded across his white shirt and dark jacket, staining everything in seconds. Gasps echoed through the ballroom. Instead of apologizing, she smirked as if she had corrected a mistake that should never have entered the room. People nearby chuckled softly. A few whispered cruel comments about dress codes and invitations. Others avoided making eye contact altogether, afraid that offering kindness might somehow lower their own status. Security guards slowly approached, assuming Kieran would react with anger or embarrassment. Instead, he calmly removed a handkerchief and gently dabbed the stain without raising his voice. Years of hardship had taught him that dignity could survive humiliation if a person refused to surrender it. He remembered every painful moment from his childhood when his hard-working mother had been judged because of the color of her skin and the size of her paycheck. She had always told him that respect earned through integrity lasted far longer than approval gained through appearances. As the laughter slowly faded, an elderly hotel employee quietly approached with fresh towels. Kieran thanked him with genuine warmth and even asked whether the man had eaten lunch yet. The employee smiled through misty eyes because no wealthy guest had ever asked him such a simple, caring question. That brief exchange revealed more about Kieran's character than any luxury watch or designer suit ever could. Meanwhile, inside a private conference room upstairs, the board members finalized preparations for the historic announcement. The chairman asked whether Mr. Kieran Holt had arrived. An assistant nervously explained there seemed to be some confusion downstairs involving one of the guests. Concern spread across the room as several executives immediately headed toward the ballroom. Downstairs, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The chairman walked directly past every celebrity, investor, and influential guest before stopping in front of the man whose jacket was still stained with wine. With a warm smile, he extended both hands and thanked Kieran for accepting the partnership that would reshape the future of global technology. Cameras instantly flashed in every direction. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Faces that had displayed arrogance only moments earlier turned pale with disbelief. The same people who had ignored him suddenly wanted photographs, introductions, and business cards. The woman responsible for the humiliation stood speechless, realizing the man she had tried to disgrace was the very person whose signature would unlock a billion-dollar future for countless companies represented in the room. But Kieran's eyes weren't focused on revenge. He quietly excused himself, stepped into a quiet hallway, and pulled Amara's drawing from his pocket. Looking at the colorful picture, he remembered why he had worked so hard. Success had never been about proving strangers wrong. It had always been about creating a life where his daughter would never question her worth because of someone else's prejudice. When Kieran returned to the stage, his acceptance speech surprised everyone. Rather than exposing names or demanding apologies, he spoke about invisible battles. He reminded the audience that the strongest people often carry the heaviest burdens without anyone noticing. He shared how being a single father had taught him patience, resilience, and compassion, explaining that every late-night homework session and every packed school lunch had shaped him into a better leader than any business school ever could. His words transformed the room. Many guests lowered their heads, ashamed not because they had been caught, but because they finally understood the damage caused by judging someone before learning their story. Even several executives admitted privately that the greatest lesson of the day had nothing to do with billion-dollar investments. It was about humanity. That evening, Kieran returned home before the celebration dinners began. Amara raced into his arms, asking whether everything had gone well. He smiled, showed her the signed agreement, and then proudly held up her drawing, telling her it had been the most valuable thing he carried all day. Together they laughed as the setting sun painted the apartment in warm golden light, proving that true wealth wasn't measured by luxury or applause but by the love waiting at home. If this story has touched your heart, please like this video, share it with your family and friends, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, and subscribe to Heartline Stories so more people can discover inspiring stories about compassion, courage, and hope. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness always wins," if you believe that respect should never depend on someone's appearance, race, or wealth. Sometimes the people the world overlooks are the very ones carrying the power to change it forever. Kindness costs nothing, but the lack of it can reveal everything. Every person you meet is fighting a battle you cannot see, and every act of compassion has the power to rewrite someone's story. In the end, Kieran didn't become unforgettable because he signed a billion-dollar deal. He became unforgettable because he chose grace over revenge, proving that the strongest hearts never need to humiliate others to shine.